me tell you this is one of the biggest moments of my life, which there's two up to date. One was receiving this trophy, and the other was when the United States Marines let me put this uniform on.
For the early era of the Heisman Trophy, it was really legendary because a lot of those men were fighting in wars. These guys were going to college and playing college football and then going and fighting for their country. So I think there was an emotional element to some of the early trophy winners. Those were the best and brightest of us, and those heroes we continue to look up to, whether they were playing football or fighting for their country.
People like Niall Kinnick or people like my dad, post-graduation immediately, those guys were in the service. Both were pilots.
I believe, and truthfully, that was the toughest yardage that I ever had to make.
My dad was fortunate. My dad went down twice, and he walked out of both of those experiences. Niall Kinnick didn't.
Niall Kinnick was a kid from Iowa. Iowa did not have a great football program, and there was pressure for him maybe to go elsewhere, but he was an Iowa kid, so I'm going to go to Iowa. He leads Iowa to a great season, and he ends up winning the 1939 Heisman Trophy.
The war in Europe starts in September 1939. Here it is in December of 1939. He wins the trophy, and he gives an impassioned speech.
I thank God I was warring on the gridirons of the Midwest and not on the battlefields of Europe.
Back then, the speech was on radio. And this young man has the presence of mind to note how fortunate he is to be living in the United States, where winning and losing was about a football game and not about life and death. War breaks out. He enlists in the Navy in 1943 in Venezuela on a training mission about 4 miles out from the carrier. They notice the plane starts leaking fuel. And he then crashed the plane into the water, but the body was never recovered. It's such a tragic story because it's really a story of what might have been.
What's your call?
The Big Ten decided to honor Kinnick by producing a commemorative coin which has his image on it, and they used this since the 1960s as the coin flip for each game that they play in the Big Ten.
That's tails.
I think if you're not really versed in Iowa football, I don't think you quite get the magnitude of Niall Kinnick. The stadium is named after him. They play part of his Heisman speech before every football game there. He is such a big part of the Heisman legacy because of the man he was, not just because of the football player he was.